The question we got was that we wanted you to get your take on. How it was from an individual in our YouTube who asked, "How can I convince my small team on adopting Effect?" And I'll bias you slightly with Mattia and I's take, and then you can sort of give your own color to this. But the gist of Mattia and I's opinion is that if you have a problem that you can solve with Effect, it's much easier to sell your team on using Effect than if you just tell them this is a cool technology that we should use. Our opinion is like, it's much easier to sell a technology to a engineer or group of engineers if you're solving problems with it, or if it solves a problem, than just because it like looks cool and shiny.
That I would add to that also come with like a prototype or a working example of it solving the problem, because that makes it even harder to say no to once it's working, and it's just easier to see the benefits, especially if you wire up things like OTel and all that stuff. I feel like my view on this has changed quite a bit from when I originally introduced Effect at Cloudflare, at Vercel. That was a lot. I think a year ago was a lot harder to sell than it is today, at least for companies that have leaned into AI and agentic programming. I think a lot of the things that people turn their nose up at to Effect just like matter far less, and developers are far less likely to bite shed nowadays because of AI. And it turns out that AI likes good type systems and explicitness, and Effect has that, which ironically was a thing people disliked about it or were hesitant to adopt it for. So it turned out it's like what was one of its, I don't want to call it a weakness because I still considered it a plus, but something it was criticized heavily for ended up being one of its biggest strengths, I think, today. And you see people like Matt Pocock talking about that all the time, and that mirrors my experience. Everyone that uses Effect with AI like has the experience that it is much easier to get good outcomes faster and with less hand-holding. Not that it's perfect. Like this morning, like I was trying to use Effect CLI, and like it was just, I was on GPT 5.5 and on high, and like it just kept over abstracting the world and writing super defensive helper functions. Is like, bro, just be normal. It's like that car meme where it's a kid in the back screaming.
No one-liner
like, why can't you just be normal? That being said, in today's world, I think a good example or a good argument to be made is like even like looking at open code. Like Dax went from somebody that was super, maybe not super skeptical as some people, but Dax always took the stance of like, I think I'd like Effect, but I don't really have a place to use it. To now, like the entire V2 rewrite of open code is like Effect top to bottom, and that entire team is Effect build now. And I think if you can like point to real world projects and real world code bases where this is working successfully, that works well. It was really challenging to sell at Vercel, but we made it work, mostly because like we had trust and autonomy to make those decisions. I think if Vercel didn't operate that way, it would have never happened. And then at Cloudflare, I think people, by the time like I got to Cloudflare and kind of started talking about Effect, like I think there was quite a handful of people that were already like Effect pilled or understood the value add, especially with AI. So that was way less of a fight to like, I feel totally fine introducing Effect on any project, and I don't think there'd be very much, if any, pushback anywhere. Yeah, I think I'd agree. It's just like build something real that adds value. Like maybe that's just like agent tooling in a CLI, or you have a problematic service or even like a endpoint that causes, actually this is a really good way, is like the next time you have an incident, or if you have a section of code that's always erroring or causing incidents, like refactor that one code path to Effect and lean in on like the error handling and open telemetry. And I think you'll see pretty good results. And like, it's such an inexpensive experiment nowadays to try that, because you could just have a clanker go and rip it right back out if it doesn't work well. I think that would be my take.